Hello everyone and welcome to February 2nd of 2021. A lot slower at work today. Not much else going on. I went to the gym today and I did chest. Unfortunately John couldn't come with me because he was sick. But also something else interesting happened today at work. They opened up a new position for a lead, so went ahead and worked on my resume for it and sent it over. So now I'm just waiting for my interview on it. So looks like interviews are going to be held like sometime in March, so excited for that. Hoping that I can use this to make up for me not buying a house right away. Because I would still like to reach my goals for 2021, and I want to keep working towards them. So this is my next one I'm working towards. So got an uphill battle ahead of me. I know there's a lot of great candidates out there, and I do wish them all the best luck. And I know whoever that Nationwide picks will do well. And I know that whoever they do pick, whether it be me or somebody else, I know I'll remain friends with whoever it is, because I know sometimes those end up in big fights here and whatnot. But anyway, what else happened today? Not much else happened today, so I kind of wanted to try to make this its own video because the promotion, but it's too short. So here is my Walking Dead analysis video for finishing up The Walking Dead Season 1 through 4. But otherwise, I hope you guys have a great night, and I'll see you guys tomorrow. Hello everyone, and welcome to the analysis of The Walking Dead video game. This is my third take of trying to do this because I've been getting error messages off the wazoo, so I'm a little bit annoyed. I just want to get my thoughts out there anyway, so let's try this again from the top with more gusto, and hopefully I can get through it this time without any failures on this. So let's get started. Let's get started with Season 1. Now it's actually interesting. You start off with this guy named Lee Everett, and you soon run into this little girl named Clementine, and you're supposed to take care of her. Now what's really interesting before we get into it is that Clementine might not have made it into the game until like the last minute. They were too nervous because their whole goal of Clementine is to help strengthen the relationship between you and her, so you feel compelled to save her. So the last week they almost made a change for her not to make the game, but honestly they went for it and they succeed. Honestly, like I personally felt like attached to her, like she's pretty cool, and I guess the whole fan base liked her, so they had a great success with her, and actually I'm glad they kept her in because I honestly couldn't imagine what this game would be like without her. But anyway, let's actually get into the game here. The first death I want to talk about is Sean Green. He is the first major point of the game where the people who are playing it actually get a feel for what this game is going to be like. Now, the end result's going to be the same, but the dialogue's going to be different. But it was still pivotal that death was there, just because of how the game is going to be played out. Let's see here. And then Carly and Doug was the first major decision that was really going to affect the game for the next two episodes. Whichever one you choose, you will take them along with you, and you'll get different dialogue and different events that happen based on how the story is. And it's honestly your first major decision of like, okay, like who's going to be more helpful in this situation. And what's actually really cool too is with some of the trivia I found, like there is an unused scene and dialogue where whichever one is killed, Lee will have a nightmare with the dead person ghost saying like, and
like ridiculing him, like, why does he get to choose? It's kind of like that kind of like punch in the throat of like, this is a decision game, like you're choosing someone's life over this. Anyway, David and Travis Parker, their deaths were pivotal, not just for, but not for their character. It's the first major time where if you like actually die, like you're gonna become a zombie as opposed to being bitten. So their death was important so that the characters can realize that. And it comes up with like other scenarios too, and opens up like choices and whatnot. Okay. Mark's character is really weird. Like, you barely get any backstory. Like, all you know is that I think he was like in the army or whatnot, and he just dies. I think it was just to help like make decisions with like how the next characters that are coming up goes. But honestly, like, I didn't really see the point of Mark. Like, every character in here except for like the extras that come up like has some kind of role to play, even if it is minor. But Mark, like, I feel like that there was like nothing behind him. Like, it was weird. All right, and then Larry's death, like his death was kind of unfair, just because he was assumed dead, and had to be taken out. But it really does determine which side you're on, if you're on Lily or Kenny's side. So I don't know. Like, I really disliked Larry to begin with, and I liked Kenny more than Lily, so it was not a hard decision for me, but it might be for some other people. All right, then these last three characters, Danny, Brenda, and Andrew, like, well, except for Brenda, like, their deaths are basically like what your relationship is going to be with Clementine if she has to see them die. Like, you'll have some tough decisions to make if you do or do not kill them. Like, oh, why didn't you kill them? They were a threat to us. Or why did you kill them? They seem so innocent. Like, they're still living people. So there's some relationship building there. Okay, long road ahead. There's like a lot of bandit deaths here, so nothing too much to go over. And then Carly or Doug, so whichever one you save, they're gonna die here. This is Lily's downfall of the entire season, because she just goes ballistic and kills one of them for stealing supplies, which they didn't, by the way. That's a different character, but it's Lily's downfall and how she basically leaves this season. And what's really cool about this is that during the DLC for this 400 days, the corpse of either Carly or Doug, whichever one you saved at the beginning of at the pharmacy, will make an appearance here. So I thought it was a good attention to detail, honestly. And then shortly after that is Kenny's downfall, Katja and Kenny Jr. or Duck. He doesn't leave the story here, but it's honestly the first breaking point of the other major character of Kenny. Like, this is his wife and child. Because of their deaths, like, he starts to break down, and honestly, like his like whole character changes after this. All right, around every corner. All right, Charles. I want to talk about him a little bit. He was only basically a length of one season, or not season, episode. But he was pivotal in the story to actually teach Lee and Clementine like how to survive in an apocalypse. You know, like how to avoid being grabbed based on their hair, having Clementine learn how to shoot a gun, and having always that plan B, C, D, E, F, G. So while very short, Charles is a very beloved character, I think, and for the short amount of time that he had, he really drove the rest of the story home. Let's see, who else? Bree, her character is not very important to inside the game, but actually outside. Like, I guess The Walking Dead like held like this contest where people can enter to be part of this video game, and Bree, which is actually like her name, won and got to be a part of it. So I think that's pretty cool here. She dies pretty much right away, and we will come back to Bree because she will come back a little bit later in the next episode. But there's one more person to talk about, and that's Ben. Ben, the screw up. He stole supplies from the group. He got them in trouble in the school with the herd coming after them. Basically, the whole reason why half the group is gone. But this is the first time that you can choose Ben, and it's honestly the decision comes between you risk putting the group in danger, or and just killing one to save all, or if you think every life is precious and they deserve a chance. So there's your moral decision of this episode. So I honestly chose to save him. I think life is more precious than anything, but that's my take. Anyway, back to Bree. So that contest for winning, now Bree is a zombie because she got bit. But honestly, like Bree's, like if Bree like survived any longer than she did, it would actually be pretty surprising, because the whole point of the contest was to be part of the Walking Dead and to live in their life. So got to live on the living side of being panicked and like the zombies, but also got to be a zombie herself to get the full experience. So if she didn't die in this, then it would have been really weird. Would have been a weird contest and everything, and weird vibes. But anyways, if you still have Ben at this time, he's gonna get killed here. But what's really cool is that it really drives Kenny's development, because he was inadvertently the one who killed like his son and wife. So like after like hearing like an outburst from Ben saying like how he didn't even get to see his family before the whole thing happened, it really got to Kenny and just like drives up his character of like even after all the major fuck ups, like Ben is still a person and really doesn't deserve like any bad things coming to him. And he's still like even a kid, even though he's like in high school. Like he's still a kid. Like he doesn't know right from wrong still. Like he's still learning. I'm still learning how to live life. I'm still looking for that instruction manual in life. So if anybody has that, please give that to me. I could use it. Let's see. Oh, and then the most sad, Lee Everett's death. I always cry during this scene. It's just so sad. It really just drives like. This is the scene where if they either did not or cut Clementine or not, like it's this scene that determined if Clementine's character was a success or not. And honestly, it makes me cry every time. So I believe that Clementine's character being in the game was a real success. All right, that's the first episode. 400 Days. These are just like 4 or 5 different mini stories here. They're not really too like in depth, so we're not going to go over them. Keep going, keep going, keep going, keep going. Keep going. Like, see, like the most amount of deaths is Vince, and that's only 3 people. Whereas up here, after this season, the most person was Lee Everett, obviously, because he was the main character, but he had 23. So honestly, not really anything to go over with. All right, now we're on to season 2. Now we're controlling Clementine. She is 11 in this game, so she's more inept to survival now, but still have some major decisions. And honestly, like when you first start out, you think it's kind of weird, but as you keep going through the story, you can kind of sense like her growing up a whole lot more than she has to or she should. Honestly, it's kind of interesting, honestly. But yeah, season 2, first one, Omid. Now, Omid, like, there's nothing really interesting about him this season. Once Clementine either shoots or leaves Lee, like, they meet up with Omid and Krista, so she's not, like, on her own. So that was, like, Omid and Krista's purpose, but Omid is just my kind of guy. Like, I'm not one for tense situations, so, like, and Omid is one of those ones that has to joke at, like, every tense situation, and I just love him because of that. So him's dead, like being the first death of season 2, really got to me. Like, it was so sad. But anyway, let's see. Who else do we have? Oh, Sam. Sam was another one. So Sam is honestly like the first animal that you see in the Walking Dead game. And they like have this like whole scene where you're just like bonding with Sam. Like you're playing fetch with him. You're looking for food. You're killing off walkers. It's just they build up like those 10 minutes that you have with him, and then they just take it all away. So Sam was another big death there, just for emotions, if anything. All right, then you come up with another group, and two of those members is Peter and Randall. This is the big decision of this episode, except for one twist is that one of the characters is already bitten. So you have to choose between one or the other, either Nick or Pete. I chose to go with Nick, but, and this is going to kind of bleed into the next episode, is that if you do go with Pete instead, there's this whole other scene that's more heartfelt than what I got, and after looking through it, it's like, wow, I wish I would have chosen that instead, because it goes through like all the emotions and like Peter reflecting back on his life with Nick, and you don't know these people as much since you just met up with him, but this, like, you still like feel for him, so I'm kind of feel bad that I didn't go through with that and just wanted to get that heartfelt moment that they wanted. You saw the heartfelt moment with Nick, but nothing as near as Peter, and I'm kind of upset that I missed him. Whatever. That's what happens with these opening games, that you do have to miss scenes. Alright, and episode 2, this is the first chance that Nick can die. Like, he accidentally shoots one of the new group members' friends. And if you say, like, Nick is a bad guy, then he will die here. But if not, he'll continue to live. So another way that choices will affect how your story is going to be. And then what's actually really interesting on top of that is that when I was first looking through this, like, you can actually lose Alvin in episode 2 as opposed to 3, which you'll see down here. But basically, Alvin has a wife named Rebecca, and William Carver, like, also had a love interest with Rebecca, and like had some fun with her. So Alvin taking with Rebecca, like, doesn't really like Alvin. So of course he's gonna be one of the few people to actually have a chance to get that he wants to get killed. But depending on like how you persuade him, like, you can save him. But honestly, didn't know that Alvin could die in episode 2. Interesting. And if not, he'll get killed in episode 3 in harm's way by being brutally beaten and then shot. You know, all the good stuff. Okay, and then William Carver's death, like the big bad guy of the game, really drives home like Clementine's character, and also you meet up with Kenny at this in the last episode, and this really, you can really start to see Kenny's downfall after losing his wife and kid, with how like he beats up William Carver like to death. But you do have a choice to like stay and watch, which will really either harden up Clementine or not, just depending if you stay or not. I just think that was a very interesting way to play with Clementine's character like that. Especially since at the very first season, like, she was this sweet, innocent 8-year-old girl. Let's see, and then Carlos, part of the group was Sarah's downfall. So that was just a setup for her. And Sarita, like, this could be Kenny's other love interest. It was never confirmed after Katja's death. But like, Kenny like really liked her to like the point like he like cared for her, and like her dying in this one, whether it was because of you or not, because she gets bitten, really is the downfall for Kenny this season. And like how he cracks and whatnot, like him beating up Carver as he did, and then with seeing Sarita's death, and then on top of that, like in the previous season, watching his wife and child die. Like, Kenny's been through a lot, like a lot with this. So honestly, if he wasn't hardened at this point, like, it would be weird. All right, if you saw Nick in your party, then this is where his downfall is. He didn't really have any much say in the episode 3 or 4, so he had to get killed off. And then this is where Sarah kills after Carlos is dead. Like, Sarah just goes into a deep Like, she gets off the rocker basically, and she has like a panic attack. So this is where Clementine and Sarah's friendship is tested. Like, if you're not going to see Sarah killed here, you're going to see her killed on like 20 minutes. So honestly, the first chance that she has to die, like, is honestly just how your friendship is with Sarah. Which they experimented this in a little bit, but as you'll see in later seasons, like, they like play with that idea a lot. So I kind of like this scene just for the fact of Clementine and Sarah's relationship and character development. Alright, and then Rebecca has her baby and dies because of it, because that was honestly your only purpose was to have that baby. But that really sets up, honestly, well, not really so much season 3, but season 4, so just keep that in mind. No going back. Let's see. The first thing that was pretty interesting about this, well, actually, there's 2 interesting things that happened in this episode, was Luke's death. Like, he has to die here, but it actually really determines another group member's party, Bonnie. Like, she was part of the bad guys at first, but then she changed to good. But what's really weird about this is that, and this is something I never knew, is that you can actually use Bonnie in this episode as well, and I didn't know that. I didn't have to go through that because I made a certain decision where I can circumnavigate around that. But if you choose a different decision, then you could potentially lose Bonnie. And then the big decision for this season, you choose between a longtime friend of Kenny, who is broken soul, or you choose the survivalist of Jane, who can probably get you through the world, but is pretty hardened herself. And what's really cool about this is that if you do choose to save Kenny, you can still lose Kenny. Like, he can get shot in the head by Clementine, even though Jane was killed. So that's actually kind of a double whammy there, like something that nobody would expect. So I don't know, it's just kind of interesting. I never knew that before. Like, with this one I went with Kenny just because I do like Kenny a lot, and I know some of the decisions that he made wasn't like the best. But Jane, you like just met this season and seemed to only care about herself, and I just liked Kenny more, so that was my decision on that. Okay, now let's finish this up because now my battery is going to die and I'm going to lose everything again. But season 3 is where they start to more focus on the decision of... Actually, this is Michonne. Never mind, we're not going to go through that because my port didn't have that. So we're going to slide on through here and go into season 3. Now you're taking control of Javier. With his group, he starts off with Kate, Gabriel, and Mariana. This game focuses more on like the relationships, like they did with Clementine and Sarah, as opposed to decisions on if somebody should be killed or not. So I kind of like that approach as well. It gave a new twist on the Walking Dead series. So the first one, actually, things to note about, just to wrap up season 2, is that this is where Kenny or Jane die, just depending. But what's really interesting is that they honestly died just because of normal circumstances. Like, Kenny was teaching Clementine how to drive, and Jane was pregnant and going to become a mom herself and didn't want to bring a baby in this world, so she just hung herself. It just kind of brings into kind of the reality of like, hey, it's just kind of sad that they have to give up their life based on normal events. But honestly, with this kind of world, like, that's how it is. Alright. Mariana. She's the first one I want to talk about. So, Mariana, like, she was the one who kept the group together. Like, she was a pure innocent soul and just ready to just do what she can to help out the group. And then her death just kind of brings out the story of Javier, Kate, and Gabriel with this. So, like, it was sad to see her die, like, in the first episode of this, just because you really got attached to her right away, at least for me. Like, I thought she was going to be like another Clementine, honestly, just a little bit older. But anyway, let's keep moving. Alright, then you meet up with 2 new party members, Conrad and Trip, along with their love interests, Conrad's wife Francine, and then Tripp's love interest Eleanor. Francine has to die here because it really brings out Conrad's character, and there's some of the decisions that you have to make later on. So like her death is pivotal in this story. Frontier soldiers, and this is the first time where you can put that to the test. So the group figured, well, at least Javier and Conrad figure out that Clementine was part of the bad guys in this game, but it wasn't by choice. It was just for survival for her and the baby. So Conrad threatens like Clementine's life with it, and then Gabriel's life as well. So you can actually shoot Conrad in the head here, or you can choose to make the deal. But this will also drive Clementine's relationship depending on which one you choose. Alright. We go into the next episode. In another instance where Conrad can die. Wow, Conrad's just unlucky. Conrad can get devoured, so he leaves that way. Alright, and then these next ones, Badger and Max. Like, Badger's going to die no matter what. But he's actually going to be used for later on in the story. And you can also kill Max if you wanted to. What's really cool is that when there's like a meeting going on between the Resistance and Javier, is that he, like, depending on which way you go, like, on which way, like, Max is basically being used to win the other side story, whether it be for Javier or for the Resistance. Alright, and Paul, if he dies, then he's also used as part of the Resistance deal as well. But this is another relationship moment with Clementine. He knows where the baby went when they took him away from her. But he'll give you the information, but you have to kill him because he's depressed and doesn't want to live life anymore. So it's just another plot point there. That's basically Paul Lingard's whole character for this. Like, that's his whole purpose of being in the game. Alright, and then we haven't had this decision, which one to keep alive, in a while. So they decided to hit you with a double whammy here. You can either choose Ava or Tripp. Tripp being the best friend that you've had through the whole season, and then Ava for Alright, and we're back. We got interrupted here because of a low battery. It seems like that this project does not want to be filmed at all, but I refuse to give up, so we're just going to pick up right where we left off. I'm not really sure like the exact point exactly, so I do know it was around this area here. I was talking about Ava and Tripp. So let's just continue where we left off. With Ava and Tripp, I just think it was interesting. Like, this is a different like kind of choice here. Like, you're still choosing between one or the other, but instead of choosing which one to die, you're actually choosing which one to live, but you're not clued in on that until afterwards, which is actually pretty interesting, and it brings a whole new twist on who to save here. And then you have a choice for Clinton or Joan on which one to be killed. One of them's going to be killed, honestly, it doesn't matter. It might reflect your relationships between like David or Kate or Tripp or anything. Again, like, this whole like series is like how much of a relationship you have with other people. So this is one of the critical moments here. And then if you still have Conrad, this is where he's gonna die. Like, he has to die by this point. All right, cool. And then we're on to the last episode here. One thing to note here is that Tripp and Ava, which are one you saved, will be killed here. Like, they have to be killed here. And then the last major thing, and then this last thing all has to do with the ending, is who gets to live and who gets to die. There's David, Kate, and Gabriel. So all of your family, basically. At least one of them is going to die from what I remember. But there's like 5 different endings to this, and this is where all of your choices from the previous episodes come in, like your relationship with Clementine, your relationship with Kate, your relationship with Gabriel. Like, all of it comes to this moment on who gets to live and who gets to die. So Honestly, I thought this was a great way in itself for it to make it replayable, and this is what makes the game have more replayability. Just not only replay this episode, but like the whole game, so that you can get these different kinds of endings here, which I think is pretty cool. Anyway, let's see here. And that's it. Cool. All right, so now we're on to the last season. This one, the last season didn't have any DLC, so nothing to worry about there. But this one takes season 3 on how it approaches how you make choices into like a whole nother level. Like, there's not really any more important like deaths or anything. It's just character notes. Like, each character builds on each other, and I honestly like that in the story. So you might not see me like stopping a few times here. But let's get started with the last season here. So this season you'll play as Clementine this time, who is aged like 16 or so. But this time she has AJ, who is 8 years old this time. And you're actually not only making decisions for Clementine, but also with AJ, which I think is pretty cool in itself. So whatever decisions you make as Clementine, you'll be teaching AJ along with them. And it honestly throws back to like the first season because of this, on how Lee was protecting Clementine. Well, now Clementine is protecting AJ. So another like trade-off there. So let's start with Brody. Brody is the first major point where Clementine and her new group kind of realizes that something's going on and they have to put a stop to it. That's the whole thing that like throws things for a loop there. And then that's that episode. The next episode, Broken Toys. Not really a whole lot of deaths here. Most of them are just like soldiers from the enemy here, except for Abel. Well, I mean, Abel's the enemy, but he was a major plot character. But the real like main decision doesn't come until the end. Halfway through the episode, you'll see Lily make a return from season 1, but this time she's on the enemy side. So I mean, even though like she's on the enemy side, though, it does make for some good plot points in terms of like, oh, you had her as an ally on the first season. Do I still have feelings for her? Like, do I like her? There'll be those like kind of players who sided with Lily that are probably more likely going to be siding with Lily on this time. But anyway, they were captured on a ship and need to make a run for it. And they make Lily become defenseless here. But James, who's another character that just appeared this season, doesn't want like AJ to kill anymore, or else it's gonna break him like of his spirit and his childhood, basically, and just all of his innocence. So this is the decision where you'll see, where you'll make him like a hardened criminal or whatnot, basically. So it's either gonna be Lily or James. So if you decide to spare Lily and teach him like goodwill and whatnot, then Lily's gonna go for the kill on James, and if not, then Lily's just gonna die from AJ's shot. And take us back. Let's see characters. All right, wonderful. So these people don't mean anything with the story. The one thing that does matter is Minerva. She is actually a sister who went missing with her new group, and is Tennessee's sister. And her death actually sets the downfall for another character's death within the group as well. And that would be Tennessee or Lewis or Violet, honestly. So depending on who you side with, Minerva is going to come back and try to bring Tennessee with them. With her. And this is before this, you make a decision if AJ is strong enough to make his own decisions or not. If you choose no, he's not, then Lewis or Violet will die, and if you say yes, then Tennessee will die. So it just kind of brings that relationship between her and AJ all forward, and that's basically the end here. yeah, that's basically the end here. Since there's not really anything on season 4, just a couple of notes here, like especially starting from the beginning. Like I said, like each character does bring forth another character to another. So like Brody's death brings out more Marlon's character, like his plot story, and then Miss Martin brings out one of the brings out Ruby's story, like her plot point in there, as well as Mitch's story brings out because of Marlon's death. Then Willie's plot point comes after Mitch's death. Like each character brings out their own story point based on other characters, which is actually a very interesting angle to look at, and I think they handle that pretty well. So I just think that that's pretty cool right there, and how this story goes. So with that, I think we finally was able to film the Walking Dead special. I hope none of my other specials after the other video games and movies that I watch or play do this, because this was a pain in the ass. This is like my 4th time trying to do this, but I'm glad it's finally done. I'm sure there's more trivia and just analysis on the Walking Dead video game than I ever did, but this already has been going on for like 30 minutes, so if you managed to stay with me for that long, congratulations. But you'll probably, this is kind of like a one-off thing. I don't even know which day this is going to go on, because this was supposed to go on last week's, so I'll just tack it on to one of my 1-minute videos, and it'll make it 31 minutes, so look forward to that and all that good stuff. But thank you guys so much for watching. Tune in tomorrow for the next day's content.